sorcery, right? And if you go to the Bible and what they tell the mainstream, the worst possible thing on earth is sorcery, because that's what they declare to the main public in the Bible. The one thing about these shamans or sorcerers of South America was that they had a lot of their concepts, or the concepts that have been shared to me by my teachers, right?
Yeah.
They talk about how you learn, these practices go back like 10,000 years. A lot of them are movements that actually keep your power and your energy in your field and your body. So the whole outline basically of this type of shamanism that I've been studying for years is that I generate my own power by using the environment around me and myself. That's how I keep my field. You can live, the teaching is that you can, if you get it right, if you do this really well, you could live indefinitely.
Yeah.
Um, and also, what I was realizing by watching, looking at these maps and stuff, is that that would have been the major opposition to this whole system, because these people were trying to pull in energy from everything and everyone into one little spot. And these shamans sorcerers learning how to go against that and defy it and not allow any of their energy to be utilized for it.
Yeah. That's it's basically what I believe, that tradition you're describing there is what I believe came from Tartary. And I have good reasons to believe that, because the cradle of the human race was, according to basically all of the ethnologists of report in the 18th and 19th centuries, they were saying that, yep, they're from the steppes of Tartary 10,000 years ago. And also Freemasonic texts say that all the symbols of Freemasonry can be traced to the steppe land of Tartary. And also they report in some Freemasonic books that when they say ancient Egypt was the origin of Masonry and religion and civilization, they are correct, but it's not the Egypt that we know. The Egypt in that time was America, and North Africa Egypt is New Egypt. So ancient America was Egypt and Tartaria, according to Freemasons, and Freemasons trace all their symbolism to these places:
Ooh,
Tartaria,
that
Asia, and America.
that spot right there looks like one of those Michael Tellinger Africa rock symbols.
This is very close to where I live. Isn't it, Mike? It was Denmark, right? I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fredericia. My parents live in Vejle, just 30 kilometers from there. There's no star forts there. There's a lack of star forts in Denmark compared with the rest of the European nations, as you can see.
If we have any viewers that are from Denmark and know of more,
Please
let us
contact.
know.
Yeah. But I think we have found at least all the largest forts in Denmark by now, and we're only, finding smaller imprints these days in the Danish country. So the Danish land is very flat and plain, so if there are star forts, they should be very easy to
Look at
find.
that. That's a chevron right there. That's a chevron symbol. Look at that.
That's a chevron. And
Yeah.
how do you
Oh,
find chevron
that
symbols?
returns all over.
Chevron symbols are found on the Templars' crests and symbolism, and chevrons are also found in Viking symbolism. And chevrons, a double chevron, is above the entrance to the Giza pyramid.
Oh,
So why are
something just struck my mind. Yeah, no, that's all good information for the public. Yeah, no, search chevrons. You'll be blown away about what they are. No, I was just thinking, I just had this flash in my mind. And what is it? The Exxon gas symbol that has the double cross, the double red cross.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is that, it goes, oh, wow. That basically they're saying like, this is our mark this is, we own this, and it's
You,
coming from that religious symbol, right?
you want to see why that double cross is a religious symbol? I can show that very quickly, Mike.
Yeah.
Screen share that in
Well, the
the
other thing too,
Hierophant's cross.
yeah,
Okay.
you see all this stuff also on the land, which is crazy how they build these buildings. I mean, these symbols they use in everything, how they develop the land, just unbelievable. These maps are killer. Hey, do you
Okay.
guys
So
have a group that you hook people into when they have time? You should upload me sometime. I'd love to
yeah,
talk to you more.
yeah. We have
Discord.
Discord on tartarinova.com. You can find an invite link to the Discord, but you're already in there, Bridget. So you know. Um, you found the Tar Technologies channel and you went crazy for all the pictures and you
Oh,
contacted me.
I did.
But yeah, that's how we got into contact. But I just wanted to get onto to this. So
Okay.
the cross you were talking about. This is a Jesuit in Tartaria because the Jesuits came to Tartary in the 1600s and basically started fucking everything up there. I'm not going to go too deep into it. People who know the Jesuits will know that they were not doing anything good there. So this device, because it is a device and not a cross, is an astronomical device. And that is why the Hierophant is carrying it. You see, this is the sign of benediction. So this is the sign of So you have Mars here, and you have Jupiter, and you have Saturn. So this is the conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter. This is denoting. And that is a very important conjunction in astrology to know. It's a 20-year cycle, and it basically governs human affairs on a very large scale. So that is why he has knowledge of this cycle with this device, because it is a astronomical device. You can see here he's closing one eye to look through it, and he's looking up at the stars. And this is also a Jesuit, I would think. So
Fantastic. That is fantastic. Seriously. Oh, look at that.
I'm not sure what this is, but this was a close thing that reminded me of it. I think those sections here are somehow an amplification system to, you can somehow adjust how much zoom you want by these, I think, somehow. I'm not sure. But it's definitely a telescope, and that's why you have
So look
an
at the
astrological symbol alongside with it here, and the priest, because he knows of the cycles of astrology, because that is how he keeps his power.
All right. So check this out. So if you look at that, drawing of that, like I have a tarot deck. I use a different one, but that guy, okay, so on a lot of buildings you would see his hat, like at the top.
Yeah,
You'd see something like that because that would
I have
be
that in my backyard, like 100 meters from here. There's like a dome with a triple crown on it.
yeah, and like in India, the Global Vision guy showed a lot of those, on buildings that are like that in India. But
Yeah.
then, look at the road map. He's like basically a map of the ground because look, he's got this symbol over here, this cross symbol here, and you'd see stuff like that. Then he's
Hmm.
got like two roads coming in from his shoulders into one road, right, with the crosses on it.
This would be like in the church. This would be, if you could see him as a church from above.
Yeah,
This would be the nave of the church
yeah,
here at his nave.
yeah. No, you guys are awesome. You're putting a lot of cool stuff together. Yeah,
Well, yeah, and we don't want to take it away from Mike. I was just
yeah, yeah,
interjecting.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm
No, it's
good.
fine.
I'm good. Just go and continue on. It's interesting for me too.
Okay, I'll
I
just
keep learning day by day.
Yeah.
okay. Let's then I will present some of my Starfort thingies, because I find, okay, signal forts and towers. Yeah, this would be it. Let's see if I can take it from this way. This will be most interesting. So, star forts are weird. Look, this is an inverted star fort, kinda, because they build it as a star-like. What would you call this? Um, yeah, I'm
Moat?
not. Oh yeah, right. So an inverted star fort came to mind, but this is a sea fort, and you see those. It has the crescent up here, and I don't know what these are. Very interesting, but these forts were out at sea, just like lighthouses in the middle of the lakes and seas, and they were probably for communication. And
And
you can see
as you
here.
can see, they also needed those 45-degree angles for perfect no blind spots.
Oh yeah, right. Because when boats sail up and want to attack this, it would
Yes,
be
yes,
very smart for the boats to concentrate right here, right?
yes. Makes perfect sense.
Right. Oh, this one is amazing. Um, it's like it looks like some modern piece of tech in the middle of the ocean, and then it has like this communication tower on top,
Well,
and
isn't that
you can see
how
in the middle of it there's water. So they're basically, I think they're using hydroelectricity to power whatever is signaling. That would make sense.
so that thing kind of reminds me of there's supposedly mythology in Egypt when they had that big tower that had that mirror on it, and that there's speculation that they used it to cook other boats.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Archimedes' mirror.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I think that's probably true. I don't think they cook things with it. I think that they probably communicated or sent signals back and forth or something.
yeah, but I also think they could like with frequency weapons they can be
Oh
used for
yeah. Yeah,
or for disorder, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm thinking
for sure.
they were so smart that they had systems that could by the flip of a switch somehow be turned into a weapon instead of like an agricultural system. So that's why I'm also a bit wary. I would think it would be very smart to have an agricultural inundation system with star forts, and then if you also have the problem of an invading army, you would have like a built-in also defense system with water. I think that would be pretty smart to have like a both like multiple applications to one
Well,
thing.
look at that. That thing looks like it's floating on a leaf. Doesn't that look like
Oh,
a leaf?
it's being transported or constructed.
Oh,
I think transported. So they moved these large structures out at sea. So you would construct it inlands and move it out at sea. That's how I would imagine them doing it. They would probably do it around the harbor and then use these as somehow as a foundation in the harbor, perhaps using the tides to get grounding, and then high tide take it out. But I'm useless speculation, I know. So, but I want to get into the signal fort thing.
holy
Uh,
cow. Look at that.
this is Josef Furtenbach's depiction of a mountainous fort in Germany, and it is like just to get the proportion right. Very funny. There's a astrological symbol of Cancer here, and look how small the cannons are, and just pretty crazy.
That looks like the priest's robe in the tarot card. Go down. Instead, it has arrows instead of crosses going down, but it has them in the same way that the guy had it on the tarot
Yeah,
card.
yeah, three crosses on like a central. Yeah, I don't know what these are. It looks like ladders or something. Maybe they're galleries. They also remind me of chevrons as well.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, this fort is immense. Like, and inside of it, in the middle, you have this pentagon or hexagon. I'm not sure. I think it's a hexagon. No, wait.
It's a pentagon, so that's military, right? That's the
Yeah,
way that they talk about it.
think about the cannons, right? The cannons are up here,
Yeah,
and if you have enemies, they would be down here.
right.
So why didn't they mount the cannons to, on the wall to shoot down?
Well, but maybe those cannons could be like surveillance modules or
Who
shooting
knows?
energy down to the ground or something.
It's open. Cannons are entirely open for debate because no one really knows what they are, and as UAP recently stated, the more you look into cannons, the less sense they make. And he's right. There's just so much about them that makes so little sense. And we can get that into that in another, because that's a huge topic in and of itself. But right now you can see, oh, here it is, Joseph Furtenbach, inventor, German guy. But yeah, cannons shooting into air. So could you perhaps envision that Zeppelins could fly up to this and then they would shoot at the Zeppelins? Or something else? Some flying anti-flying machine guns? I don't know. It's open for debate, but it's at the least a very beautiful star fort, just like this one, which is not really a star fort, but it is. That you can see here, they're doing something. They're producing steam or something like clouds or some other gas at a very large scale in this fort in ancient mode history. This is from a book called Civitas Veri, like True City. Civitas Veri, and you can find that on archives.org pretty quickly. Just type in Civitas Veri, and this book will come up with this illustration in it. Very comprehensive industrial plant of some sort. And here you can also see an outline of an ancient fort. It just, like Martin Littke puts it, it reminds me of like a space age sci-fi thing. It looks surreal. And here with buildings, and you have in remote antiquity.
Wow. Oh, that looks like inside a computer, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It looks like a little computer.
Board.
Yeah,
it's a circuit board.
Yeah.
And if you think about if you really want these as protection against enemies, why would you build a bastion that goes into the city? Who are you protecting yourself from with this bastion? No one. The contradiction here is basically the direction of the bastions. This one is going out, this one is going in, and it makes no sense, people.
It's just a circuit board. It's all just a circuit board.
It's a circuit
and
board.
you're a circuit in the circuit board.
These I like to call geomancy forts, as that guy Joseph Fell told about. He talked about paleophysics. And some of these fort structures you will find in and around gardens. So in an ancient garden in Versailles, they would have like a star fort with trees on it. And they wouldn't call it a star fort, but it definitely is a star fort. So it's weird. And you can
think about how much, I mean, some of those royalty, they went to, some of them were cuckoo-doo about gardens and water, and I mean spent quadrillions of dollars and dragging resources from all over the world to make them. I mean, had to be something with them other than just a visual splendor.
But here you have trees on the bastions, and if we're like to understand the military argument correctly, they needed trees for shit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they needed trees in war, but they somehow did. No, I'm kidding. These trees are for something else.
Well, how many did they put in that drawing for the chevron up there? We go back down. I just wanted to count and look at, go back in. Up at the top there. Oh, no, that one, right up there. How many trees were in that chevron? Like 3, 6,
12, so 24.
24. Well, that's a 6.
And over here you even have a larger concentration and all these weird things.
Look at look at the circle and design in there. Like it's a little star fort of trees within a star fort.
Yeah.
Within a triangle.
But right now I'm also, all this space is supposed to be for soldiers and cannons, and when the armies are coming, you're supposed to have a lot of people gathered here and with cannons and shooting at them, right? But no, instead you have trees.
So even like if you look at the edge of the star fort, that's going around, it's a circuit too. I mean, because it's creating a whole circuit all the way around, right?
Yeah, like
been saying that we live inside of an enormous skull on a circuit board, and the circuit board is covered in dust.
Yeah.
It's basically old mythology stating that Earth is like inside a giant skull, Titan skull. Basically, Mike is referring to that. But yeah, let's not get into that, Mike.
I'll shut up.
Perhaps. No. But let's not get into cosmology because that is such a comprehensive subject.
Yeah, it's a complex one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at
Before you
this
know
one.
it,
It's
we
so it has these circular objects all around the fort and on the bastions, and in here there's something weird going on. That they're going in. You could go into the bastion here somehow. Something weird going on. I haven't seen before on Star Forts, and
So anyway,
it's
I just kind of had like a thought that crossed my mind. So, I mean, they know that people can kind of go out to some of the crop circles and they can kind of determine if they've been fake made or if they've been made in a way that they don't understand. Like they don't really understand how they were made, but made by some kind of energy field. I mean, obviously they're a communication, right? Because everything that we're just going into here is all about communication. It's all about energy. It's all about symbology. So I wonder if like crop circles are some of the people here communicating with some of the other people here. You know
well,
what I mean? A message that most people couldn't resolve, and only for like a select few.
maybe the reason why we're getting crop circles is because some of these structures were taken out, whereas some energies sometimes land here from above, which aren't being taken care of, which creates the crop.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
right.
I've seen some
That's kind
videos.
of a cool concept, though.
This is like a pagoda in France, by the way. A pagoda in France. Just think about that. It's not there anymore, as far as I'm concerned. I think it was taken down like in the 20th century. It may still be there, but I'm not sure. You can go check that out. I don't have the name for it right now, but yeah, pagodas in France don't really seem to make a lot of sense because pagodas are Chinese architecture.
Hey, that rhymes. Badoom.
Yeah. So
Pagodas in sense.
Tartary in Europe, and here's a tuning fork. I would think it's amazing, very large, and
But that's
this
something you
ball,
can pull up, right, Victor? The iconography of the fasces on top of churches, incorporating both Christian and Islam symbols.
yeah, I have a lot of that. But I wanted to point out that this bowl down here, I can't remember the letter. I think it's D. Yeah, it's D, and it says boule de bronze right here. So this large bowl, which is very large compared with the tiny little human here in antiquity, is made of bronze, and it's mounted on like these pointy I think pointy edges. I read there, and then you have another layer of pointy edges, and then another layer of pointy edges. So what's going on? Really crazy. And I think this is all communication
Isn't
technology.
that like an orgone accumulator or something?
It could be a
Big copper
cloud.
rods into the air.
It could be
Or
definitely a
one of
cloud.
those Tesla tower thingies too.
Yeah, but this is supposed to be in before the Renaissance or in and around it. So what's going on, guys?
Yeah, for our viewers, what is going on?
Yeah, and yeah, just like many of these towers are still here in France and Italy, and just standing there to be, analyzed. Okay, so here inside a star fort, we have something called Galerie de Communication, and it's pretty weird. You would have that, and also here,
Which
Gallery.
translates as communication gallery.
Exactly. So, what type of communication is going on in star forts? Are they communicating within the star fort? Or are they communicating to someone else without the star fort, outside of it. Yeah, I all the lines connecting the forts also called communication line. I will find that.
So I have a question for you. Not to get into cosmology or anything out there, but they could be communicating to somebody off planet. They could be communicating to people who live inside the Earth. They could be communicating across waterways.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
all the above, kind of.
so, but let's just
Going back to the multi-purpose effect, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But let's just focus on like on ground. So these
Yep.
lines are connecting a lot of the star forts, and some of them are hundreds of kilometers long. And these are called ligne de communication or communication line, and they have readouts on them. So what Philip Drashinin, the mud flood guy from Russia, and our good friend Philip, he basically documented that gas pipes in Russia, they use sort of similar protrusion on their gas pipes to act as a compressor for the gas, so as to maintain it. I think, I'm not quite sure, but they build these star 40 points on the gas lines, and I think that these lines are gas lines for that reason, because you find they could also, of course, be on subterranean aqueducts,
I could
but it's
show
either
real life. I could show a couple of real life example of those lines in Russia and the Ukraine.
yeah, if you can find those, we'll just switch over to you. Because these lines, if we're presupposing gas lines, then I would think that you could use pneumatic tubes to send long distances, just as you had in like early America with all the corporate structures sending pneumatic tubes, right? What if that
Hmm.
went underground in ancient times over vast distances? And they could also transport, goods and small vessels of, yeah. So let's switch over to you. I'll stop
Hmm.
screen. Did I stop screen sharing?
I don't know. I am screen
Yeah,
sharing.
he
Are
he
you?
is. You're done. You don't
Yeah.
have yours up anymore. Yeah, it's all good. Look at that. Is that the new? That's the new ones or the ones that Russia built?
This
Well,
is
yeah.
the story is Russia built these when they expanded. You don't see a whole lot of stuff happening here, but I found a lot of this going back through old pictures of Google. That show you more of an outline stuff going on here.
So I have a
And
question for you
eventually
guys. Do you
it
think that
picks up again.
the reason why the world has made Russia, because I'm half Russian, but I missed my culture language by one generation. And do you think that like the reason why we're told lots of negative things about Russia is because Russia still has a lot of keys to all of this kind of information that is in it? Because
Other than the Mongol hordes, no one has ever invaded Russia.
yeah, so I mean, because there's so many brilliant people that come out of Russia, you know what I mean, that are talking about things that most, I mean, at least in America, that are just so incredible and brilliant, but stuff that, we've never ever heard. And it's kind of a normalcy in Russia that they talk about these kinds of things, in science. And I've had people on my show from Russia that are just unbelievably brilliant, and the technology they're building it just blows my lid. I have this one, Valery Yurov, and he was a UFO guy in the for the military in Russia for years and years and years. And then he ended up traveling, started reading ancient texts because he reads multiple languages, and started looking at, pyramid places, around the globe. And then for 30 years, he studied this stuff and then went to those places all over the world. And he realized like it was all about technology. And now he's building this pyramid technology that can change humans even and our abilities. And you can put them in homes. He puts them in water, and then you bathe in the water, and that you get you can regenerate your body. And he's in Russia.
Wasn't
But
Global Vision the one that presented that video on Mercury, Victor?
I think it was Global Vision initially, yes.
do you think so? Do you think like that? I mean, I'm not putting words in your guys' mouth. What are your thoughts about? Do you think that the Tartarians are still in control of Russia and have been there, and that's why nothing's ever gotten in there and not a lot of information's ever gotten out
Yeah,
until now?
I think Tatarians are still in control of parts of Russia, not exactly the governmental structure, but the underground structure of Russia, I would think. And they are also in charge of, I would think, uh, lands very close to China, such as some parts of Korea and Taiwan, Formosa, and such places. I think they have strongholds. Not, as a people living in um, ur- urban life and, beneath the poverty lines. No, I'm thinking secret societies.
Yeah, and people still hold a lot of power, a
Yeah,
lot of energy, whatever, the resources probably.
yeah. I would think that some of the most secretive secret societies that we haven't heard about would be conclaves of ancient Tartarians that are somehow working their way back.
Yeah, and they were the Phoenicians too, right? So they've been called a lot of things in history.
Let's be careful because there are also some documentation that yes, Phoenicians they were originally a Tartarian tribe, but they broke apart, and there was a concoction. They made up new scriptures along the line, and that went and came in to be the Talmud. And when the Talmud came about, there was a lot of Jews who migrated back to Tartary because they resisted or rejected its content, and they called it abhorrent. Well, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that um, those Jews, those who migrated, they formed like a new Tartarian Jewish sect, and there was a war between that Jewish sect with those Talmudist Jews. And I think a lot of the history of war starts there, and it all that's why it all has to do with Tartaria and Russia, and I think it's one of the main reasons why Russia is still guarded. It could also be because the enemy is guarding it. But
So,
but
what, so
I think I lost the thread. What was the question again? Sorry.
no, that I mean that was perfect because you gave kind of a history lesson on the Phoenicians and what happened. But
Oh yeah, the
I'm still.
Phoenicians.
So, do you
Sorry,
think?
that was my point. Sorry,
Do you
sorry.
think? Okay,
I just needed to get that out. That there's a documentation that the Phoenicians were these distinct type of Jews who created Talmud, and then there's also documentation that way before the ancient enemies of the Tartarians were Phoenician. So the Phoenicians always lost their wars with the Tartarians, and wherever the Tartarians colonized and found them, they wiped them out. It states in all the articles. So there is and there's two enemies fighting each other, and that was why I mentioned that Jewish story, because it seems to me that they're fighting each other over scriptures and over morality, and I think they also shared a common ancestor.
but wouldn't it
But
be power if they're fighting over scripture and stuff like that? But I mean, we talked about this guy named Joseph Farrell, and so they're basically fighting over power,
yeah,
like electricity
yeah, yes. Thank
and
you for reminding
resources.
us. Thank you for reminding us,
Well, now
because
I
this
have a new
exactly.
concept. I'm like, woohoo. Um, okay, so do you guys think, what are your thoughts about do you think we're winning since Russia's starting to open up and some of these other countries are starting to open up to the rest of the world, that a lot more stuff will be exposed and that we're going to eventually win over? Or do you think that there'll always be, I mean, because you guys have been studying these Tartarian civilizations and stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think that there is going to be a great awakening, or that it's going to take longer, or
It's going to be a partial great awakening, and by that I mean that if you're referring to, for instance, a new BRICS coalition starting to dominating the world, I think what they would do is they would expose the former system's crimes, and that would be, America and England and stuff like that. That would be a great historical awakening to those things, and I think we're seeing the start of that right now, where the whole media landscape seems to be very shaky and changing. Trump is coming in and causing a lot of upheaval in just the way that you can speak to other people in the political arena. Everything has changed because of it. So I'm thinking, yes, that there is going to be a great awakening, but it's not going to be to that scale where they want us to be individuals living under sovereignty, all of us. They want us
yeah,
just
yeah,
to
yeah.
they
No,
want us to see the boogeyman, and then they will present new heroes for us to adore,
yeah,
and those will be Russia and India and South Africa and stuff like that, in a new technology for us to accept it, and blah blah blah. That would be the plan, I think.
yeah. No, that's kind of like what I think as well. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, I was reading this article that, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the economic guy's name. Um, but I got really interested in economic systems for kind of a while. And he was talking about, he went back like 5,000 years of whatever kind of documentation that he could find and researched, and he said this is the kind of stuff that they do, that these people that have had strongholds over civilization, they've been through this numerous times, and he said what they do is they just change the core of the financial system to another location. So, France got to be the big, financial hub at one time. Then, they kind of annihilated that, and then they moved it over here. And then what it does is it makes the people think that that there's actually kind of a battle going on, but they're always in control of it, and they just move it around and make it look different. So we think that it's different. I don't know if that makes
It's a
sense.
highly corporate manner of operation, because just as when a corporation is found out to have dirty hands, then it just shapeshifts and moves things around. One good example would be Monsanto fusion with Bayer. Now Monsanto is just, absolved kind of in a way from everything it had done.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's
that's how
the sleight of hand. Look
sleight of
over
hand. Yeah.
here. It's a magic trick, right? Look over
Yep.
here and don't look over here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very corporate way of thinking.
Yeah, because they're all kind of in bed everywhere. So they're like, okay, you've had the world power for 1,000 years. We're going to take it away, and we're going to put the world power over here now.
Yeah,
So it makes it look different, but it's really not. When people start to unite and kind of uproar, then they start to like move things around, like like a chess game
yeah, yeah. I agree. But
to confuse
Bridget,
us.
have you seen what Mike have been showing us with these lines for the last
Yeah,
5 minutes?
no, I'm just totally in shock.
Yeah,
So are these like old gas lines, or these are the ones that they actually make now?
these
No,
are all,
these are the old gas lines.
yeah, and
From like how
readouts.
old again? I mean, so how old are those gas lines, do you think?
They say 200 something years,
No.
300 years old. Not that much more.
And they don't call them gas lines either, don't they?
Now they call them walls.
Yeah, but in America, we're supposed to have not had any kind of gas lines for what? Till recently? Till we became you know,
Well,
Modern.
Yeah.
I think I can document in part that star forts in America were not built by colonials; they were built by someone else.
Somatic symbol, a somatic symbol.
Well, we're thinking Tartaria because there's a lot of references that Tartary was in America, and that they built all the cities, and then the colonials just came in and found the cities, as the citation I read from earlier on the show, where what was it? New Brunswick in Canada, that was discovered in the 1600s and not built. It was discovered, and that was an official story, right? So they're basically telling us a lot of things if we learn to read correctly, as you pointed out earlier. So yeah, I'm looking for the fortification reference. It talks about the mound builders also building cities and forts in the American land, and they talk of them as that they must have been a high civilization because they knew the principles of geometry in the military fortifications very well. So they're saying star forts were not built by colonials but by mound builders in America, and the mound builders are shrouded in history. And why are they that? Because they are Tartarians.
I'm showing
And
New York.
yeah, and all the forts that once was there. This little parcel of land, or big parcel of land, was described as the most lush and fertile place in the whole northeastern coast. Perhaps even in the whole of America at one. I can't quite remember, but it was one of the most fertile places there back then. Is that? Oh yeah, a new military map of
This
Virginia.
is the Pentagon.
Is that the Pentagon?
Yep.
Wow.
This is Washington.
That's the old map of the where the Pentagon is, right?
Here's your White House. Here's your pentagram
Yep, there's the
street
pentagram.
layout, and this here is your Pentagon.
Wow. And Benjamin Banneker, the Moorish architect and father of plumbing, who was probably a Tatar, is said to have, in the official story, surveyed the city, but according to Moorish history, he was the one who actually built the city.
Reno. Hey, Reno shows up everywhere. Look at that right there. Reno.
Reno.
That's where I live in Nevada.
Reno, Nevada. Yeah.
What's Reno mean? You guys think? It keeps showing up. And this is the hub. This is a hub here of the elite people. I can prove it. I can prove it,
Interesting.
like how a lot of stuff here is built and how the state is run. So our state here is the only state in the United States that doesn't have a separate constitution. So nobody that gets, put in, there's no elections, has to ever even consider the people of the state. So the other 49 states actually have state constitutions, which do create
Whoa.
laws to protect their people. And so
Wait,
here,
and
anything
so
happens.
does that mean that if you ever reverted back to the constitutional Republican offices and counties and stuff, would your place be, you know, no man's land?
Well, no, what it is um, I don't know. I guess I don't know what it would be. I mean, the way that it was originally set up supposedly was that each state was going to be its own country, right?
Yeah,
And then
they
have
are
it,
still. They are
yeah.
still own
Well,
countries.
not really because they're not really run that way. They're run
No,
now by the federal government, which
it's
is,
just vacant. The offices are just vacant. They could
yeah,
be filled in again, and it would work
yeah.
just as it worked once.
But what it means in Nevada, because we don't have a state constitution, it says that the federal constitution was adopted in behalf of the citizens of Nevada. So the downside of that is that if you get, arrested or you have to go to court, and you have to get, it says right in the laws, and you have to get a public defender, right, to defend you because you don't have the money to get another fake defender, um, then they have to negotiate your guilt. Even if you haven't done anything, they will go behind your back and negotiate your guilt so that you will always be, like a criminal of the state, and then they'll prosecute you that way. So, because you don't have any state protection that you could
Yeah,
try to use. So if you have to sue the state, you can't sue the state. You actually have to get an attorney to sue the federal government, which, I mean, down payment on something like that is $80,000. So
yeah, and
nobody
that's
ever
that's
can
just
really,
let's just define attunement here,
yeah,
because attunement really does not mean what people think it means, and it really means to give over your rights, basically. So when you apply for an attorney, you become a ward of the court, and a ward of the court is defined as an infant and a belligerent, one who does not comprehend law. Or
yeah,
let's ward of court, infants and persons of unsound mind. Yeah, see guardianship. So, thus, an attorney occupies a dual position which imposes dual obligations. This is from attorney-client documents. So his first duty is to the courts and the public, not to the client. And wherever the duties to his client conflict with those he owes of an officer to the court in the administration of justice, the former must yield to the latter. So it also states that a client is one who applies to a lawyer, and clients are also called wards of court. So that would be infants and persons of unsound mind, according to Black's Law Dictionary. So that's why you shouldn't apply for a lawyer. And that's
yeah.
also how the game is rigged against us.
Right, and it's super rigged in Nevada because people here are always shocked what they get arrested for, and that they have to serve a lot of time or pay huge amounts of fines just because Nevada is the federal government, and the federal government, which is the rulers, run here.
It's very interesting because in Nevada, in Las Vegas, for instance, right? Las Vegas is named after the Vega star system in our skies. And that star system was one that was revered by the Egyptians. And now we're getting into old Egypt in America, because very close to Nevada, there are archaeological sites showing Egyptian artifacts and also possibly pyramids built beneath the sand that they're keeping from you,
Yeah,
because they don't want you to discover the real origins of America, which would
yeah,
be Moorish, Egyptian, high civilization.
yeah. Well, and we had those on the Grand Canyon. There were caves there that the natives knew about for a long time. And then when people found them, and they had all kinds of Buddhist and Egyptian artifacts, and statues and stuff, all of it was stolen. And now that area is still protected by military. If you try to go in there, the military helicopters will come in there and try to shoo you off. It's kind of a major down climb that you have to get down there, but they'll shoot you if necessary. They don't really care.
Yep, that's how the Los Federales do.
Yeah. No, but so Nevada is like this really crazy. It's a really crazy place, and people think it's normal because they think they have rights here. Because we're allowed to carry weapons openly.
Look at this, Bridgette.
Yeah.
This is in Nevada, and this is a star circle.
Yeah,
that
where
might
is
just...
that? You think in Nevada? Is it like more like Las Vegas? Oh, by the mountain ranges. Hey, that could be close to Reno, actually.
Isn't that close to Area 51 also?
I don't know. Vegas is from me. I'm in northern part of Nevada, and I think Vegas is like 10 hours away south.
It's right in between. Like
Oh,
this,
yeah.
Las Vegas, right in between.
Where is 51, Mike? Can you find that? Just for reference, to see the proximity to 51.
It's probably close.
Oh, no,
yeah.
Well, it's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Alien Center.
Yeah.
Well, what in law, Bridget? What does alien imply to you?
That it's a um um that it's a immigrant or
A foreigner,
That's
a
Area
what?
51.
like a foreigner.
Yeah, a
Or
foreigner.
yeah. So, but if you break down the word, you get very interesting yields. You know, a lean, like
Yeah,
lean. So that law connotation is very interesting. And then you also have, if you remove the n, you have a lie.
yeah, no, exactly. No, I've had Jordan Maxwell on my show. He loves those ones. He loves
Yeah.
those. He loves those legal words. He loves
Yeah.
them a lot.
Well, crazy that you had Jordan Maxwell on. He was one of the guys who inspired me to go into linguistics,
Yeah,
esoteric.
he
Yeah.
inspired me too. Like, I was one of the first people on YouTube. Um, didn't post anything for a long time, but and then he was like one of the first people popping up on it with his
Yeah.
lectures, and so I love him, and so I have him on periodically. I've had him on like about 4 times, but he's like 80 now, and his health is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he, you know, they did some really bad stuff to him. I mean, 2016, he was living in an alley in Los Angeles, and it's very dangerous, especially for somebody his age. Thank God
Oh
somebody
yeah.
helped him and got him up. But, you know, he's had a really rough time. And um, he still knows that there's some places of information now that he has to draw the line.